ಓಂ ಜನನೀಂ ಶಾರದಾಂ ದೇವೀಂ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣಂ ಜಗದ್ಗುರುಂ ಪಾದಪದ್ಮೇ ತಯೋಃ ಶ್ರಿತ್ವಾ ಪ್ರಣಮಾಮಿ ಮುಹುರ್ಮುಹುಃ. ಓಂ ಭದ್ರಂ ಕರ್ಣೇಭಿಃ ಶೃಣುಯಾಮ ದೇವಾಃ ಭದ್ರಂ ಪಶ್ಯೇಮಾಕ್ಷಭಿರ್ಯಜತ್ರಾಃ ಸ್ಥಿರೈರಂಗೈಸ್ತುಷ್ಟುವಾಗುಂ ಸಸ್ತನೂಭಿಃ ವ್ಯಶೇಮ ದೇವಹಿತಂ ಯದಾಯುಃ. ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನ ಇಂದ್ರೋ ವೃದ್ಧಶ್ರವಾಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನಃ ಪೂಷಾ ವಿಶ್ವವೇದಾಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನಸ್ತಾರ್ಕ್ಷ್ಯೋ ಅರಿಷ್ಟನೇಮಿಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನೋ ಬೃಹಸ್ಪತಿರ್ದಧಾತು. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ. Om. O gods, may we always hear with our ears what is auspicious. O worshipful ones, may we with our eyes always see what is auspicious. May we live our allotted life, hale and hearty, offering our worship unto Thee. May Indra of ancient fame bestow auspiciousness on all of us. May the all-nourishing portion be propitious to all of us. May Garuda, the destroyer of all evil, be well disposed towards all of us. May Brihaspati ensure all our welfare. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. With our last class, we have been able to complete the Mandukya Upanishad consisting of 12 mantras along with 215 karikas or plain commentary by Gaudapadacharya. Now, today we recollect what we have studied during all these 153 classes. So, if we have to squeeze not only of the Mandukya Upanishad, but of all scriptures in the world, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. What it means is, God alone is real, and everything that we are experiencing is only a seeming, apparent experience, and you are none other than God. This is the summary. So, if we can understand this, the rest is how to reclaim our forgotten true nature. Our nature will never depart from us. The nature of anything can or cannot be destroyed or shortened or changed. But we can quite forget. In fact, most of us are completely mad, and some of us are more completely mad than others. So even Sri Ramakrishna used to make fun. So the whole world is mad. I am also mad. But my madness is the best madness because I am an extremely happy person. That is why sometimes some of these great realized souls appear to be really mad. So one definition of madness is a person who forgets who he is or she is and thinks that they are somebody else. That is madness. And that is what exactly a person becomes angry, that is forgets oneself. And when a person is possessed by madness, then that person doesn't know how to behave. He can even kill parents, children, anybody. Another definition of madness, very interesting madness, and following the first definition is to be firmly convinced. I am not what I am, but I am somebody else. So this is what is called worldliness. But then here is the saving grace, as we say. Nobody can, we may forget, but we don't lose it. But forgetfulness also, as if we have lost, because our happiness is short-lived and we can get worried, we can misbehave, we can do many things. So that is the result of temporariness. Then one of the questions raised by a very intelligent student is, but this madness is so-called lasting for how many births? Billions and billions of births, beginning right from the inorganic matter until one attains Brahmaloka and continues. And it looks as if it is very reasonable. So why did God make us go through so many janmas? But my dear sir, even this measurement of time, concept of time, that is a very short time, it is a very long time, and it is not 100 years, it is billions and billions and billions of years. That is also part of the dream, really speaking. In comparison with infinity, eternity, it doesn't count at all. And one of the two examples they give for that, so that we can understand better, time is very relative. So when a person is going through hardship, difficulties, as if every millisecond is a long time. When a person is very happy, then how time passes so fast, so quick. So it is a purely one definition is the concept of time, whether it is short or long, depends upon our state of mind. And then the second thing is, we give the example that in our dream, say if in our waking state, even if I have to go from here to the office, which is only 3-4 minutes away, that's all it takes. But in dream, I just think I want to go to the office and I am in the office. Is that it? I want to go to America, I am in America. I want to go to Mars, I am in Mars. So the measurements of time and space, because these are interrelated, correlated. So I know how do I calculate time in the waking state. From here to the office, it is 2 furlongs away, and therefore it takes at least 3 to 4 minutes. But in dream, it is completely so different, absolutely. The moment thought comes, manaha, as it were, they say, dhavati. So even Atman runs far faster than even the mind. So the measurement of scale of time and space in the dream state is completely different. And then you see a beautiful expression is given even in the waking state. If a person is looking forward to a happy event, then the viraha looks very small. But if it is very unhappiness, tremendous pain, even every millisecond, we are going on counting. Why is the time running so slow, etc.? So it is all depending upon the mind. So even billions and billions and billions of births, the time that it comes, it is absolutely nothing. It is all our imagination. So the answer is that it is as if it is just a second. And I hope this explanation rings a bell in our minds. Remember Narada's experience of Maya. So he went to fetch water and he just bent down, and then the whole scene, several years, maybe 50, 60 years have passed. He was married, he had children, and he accumulated a lot of money. And then one day there was flash floods, and he wanted to go to a land which is higher ground to escape these floods. And in the process, he has to cross this small river, very small river actually, and he lost his wife, his children, and his possessions, and that brought terrible amount of grief. And Krishna was sitting under the tree, and gentle voice, he reminded Narada, why are you taking a long time? What is this long time? Just 1 second more. Just he bent, and 1 second more he bent. Krishna called him, and immediately he woke up, and then he said, my God, 60 years passed in 1 second. This is called Vishnu Maya. Maya always manifests in the form of time, space, and causation. So, our bondage as if it is all nothing. Not only that, what we call our bondage itself is not that there is a real bondage. This is the beauty of Maya. So, why don't I remember my nature? Because of Maya. Oh, there is something, a positive substance called Maya. No, Ya Ma, that which is not, that is called Maya. And Maya means time, space, and causation. When there is no time, space, and causation, where is the question of a person experiencing it for such a long time? But so long as we are in the Maya, we are bound to calculate only in the form of time, space, and causation. And our great Shankaracharya, whose birthday was Janma Jayanti, was only on 12th of this year, just 3 days before. In his Vivek Chudamani, he says, what a surprise, what a wonder. Just now, I was experiencing the world. Where has the world disappeared? Within 1 second, where did it disappear? But this is only an expression in human language to tell us. But really speaking, just as when we are in the deep sleep, we don't remember who we are. Similarly, when we are in Samadhi state, we will never remember at one time. The time concept of time itself is completely transcended. And one of them, either time or space or causation, is transcended. Everything else is also completely transcended. So, Brahma Satyam, Brahman alone is real, and Brahman is eternal, Brahman is infinite. So these two have to be added, which we see in the second chapter of the very beginning of the second chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Truth, knowledge, and infinity. That is hints just to contemplate upon what is Brahman. Now coming back, so this is one of the smallest Upanishads. It has got only 12 mantras. And this great Gaudapadacharya, who was thoroughly versed not only in Indian philosophy, but even Buddhist philosophy, Jaina philosophy, and all other 6 schools of Indian philosophical systems, he was trying to write a commentary upon it. So it is not a bhashya, it is rephrasing the important meaning of these Mandukya Upanishad. He did it in 215 shlokas. And he divided these 215 into 4 chapters. And added to that, his grand disciple, Shankaracharya, had commented upon it, and not only on the 12 mantras of the Upanishad, but also on the 215 karikas. In fact, Gaudapada, totally he devotes 29 verses, karikas, in the first chapter. And he named them, these 4 chapters, in a beautiful way. So, summarizing the essence of the Mandukya Upanishad. The first chapter, so that is called Agama Prakarana. Why is it called Agama? Agama means Veda actually. So this Mandukya Upanishad is directly from the Upanishad. That is why this is called Agama Prakarana. Upanishads are there. So this Upanishad having 12 mantras and having 29 karikas. It is named as Agama Prakarana. Prakarana means a chapter. And the second chapter is called Vaitatya. Tatya means as it is. Tatha. That is why Buddha is also called Tatha Agataha. He who arrived at the truth as it is. Vaitatya means just the opposite. That is false. Mithya. So the second chapter consisting of 38 verses by Gaudapadacharya, and Shankaracharya's commentary is totally separate. Let us keep in mind. So the second chapter, Vaitatya, that is to prove that everything in this world is absolute falsehood. That is why it is called Vaitatya. In 38 Karikas, Gaudapada tried to prove most beautifully, logically. The third chapter is called Advaita Prakaranam, containing 48 Karikas or Shlokas or verses dealing with the non-dual nature of Atma. The fourth chapter is called Alata Shanti. This is the biggest chapter, containing 100 Karikas, and in this we get two things. First of all, this fourth chapter, it gives the essence of the first, second and third chapters. Besides, it counters various schools of philosophy to prove that one statement, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. So this is the very kernel of this Upanishad. So Brahman is the only reality, nothing else is real. So the entire universe consisting of ourselves and the external world, including our bodies, our mind, is like a long dream. But even that long dream is also part of the concept of Maya only. Naturally, the question comes, how can this universe, so clearly perceived and so much affecting our life day and night? See, even our sleep, deep sleep, can be affected by this waking state. Supposing somebody says, I'll give two examples. Suppose you have to get up and then go reach airport early, and the departure time is 5 o'clock. So, how many times you wake up? That very thought, I have to get up. But if it is a Zen master, what does he do? He says, now it is 11 o'clock. I have to get up at 2 o'clock. That is enough. Forgets about it. He gets up exactly at 2. Mahatma Gandhi had that power. And also Napoleon had that power. They will tell exactly, or they will ask, how much time do we have? Say 15 minutes. All right, I am going to bed for 15 minutes. And the next second, they fall asleep. And next, exactly at the end of the 15th minute, they don't require any alarm clock at all. And they are able to get up. And that is why a person who is able to conquer the sleep is called Gudakeshaha. Arjuna is called Gudakesha. Lakshmana is called Gudakesha. Lakshmana could sleep 12 years completely without any sleep. Day and daytime, he used to work collecting food material, etc. Nothing is mentioned in the Ramayana. Hopefully, Sita Devi was cooking. So, Lakshmana had to keep awake all night. But he was called Nidrajit. He could conquer sleep. What does it mean? Means not only he can keep awake, but they can fall asleep at any given time. Now I am going to sleep, and immediately they are asleep. And I am going to get up at this particular time. They are able to get up at this time. And they have very, very peaceful sleep, very refreshing sleep. And if any sadhaka means a person who is striving, not only of spirituality. He can be a budding musician or scientist or writer or a poet or a mechanic. It doesn't matter whatever it is. Sometimes, we also become conquerors of sleep. So when weddings take place, the parents and some of the close relatives, they have 3-4 days, hardly they have time to sleep. But do they feel tired? Not at all. If it is a painful experience, definitely they feel it. So, how people could do that? That is very interesting phenomena by itself. So, this is the waking state. So real. And it affects, if we are worried about something, we cannot sleep properly. So, how can this universe, which we are seeing in the waking state, as well as in the dream state, so crystal clearly, and we are acting and reacting. See, sometimes some of us might have had dreams that we went to bed, we are having dream, we are moving in a what is called solitary space, place, and suddenly from somewhere within 1,000 miles there is no tiger at all, excepting in the zoos. But you dream that a tiger is running after you. Maybe you read some books about some of these man-eating tigers of Kumaun or something like that, and then you dream, but you don't know it is a dream. The tiger is coming, it is real. You might lose your life, that is real. And your heart is beating, that is real. You can have a heart attack, that is real. How can this universe, so vividly expressed in both dream and waking states, how can it be a mere dream, mithya, false, not real? For that the answer is that there are two definitions are given. The technical name for this unreality is called mithya, seeming reality. It looks very seemingly, and so long we do not know the truth, it is not seeming reality, it is reality, and we act and react accordingly. So even in your dream, you see a big bag of gold lying down, and you will see quickly all round whether anybody is watching you, and then lift up the bag and try to run away. So how can such a universe be completely unreal? Because the definition of unreality is, or mithya is, two definitions we have given. What are they? First of all, whatever is changing. And how frequently is it changing? Continuously changing, constantly changing. So how can something which is changing be real? The very reality, the very definition of real is that which never changes. So everything is changing. That is one reason. Second is, unless there is a continuously awakened consciousness, which is always present, which is never absent. So consciousness is never absent. Even when we are in coma or deep sleep, but we are experiencing coma, we are experiencing unconsciousness. How do we know? Upon waking up from the coma or upon waking up from the deep sleep, we claim, oh, I was unconscious. How did you know that you were unconscious? You must be conscious of your unconsciousness. Otherwise, you would just take up where you left it off and you would not remember anything. But crystal clearly we remember, I went to bed, I slept so many hours, and I did not know anything. But one thing is there, I was very happy. Sukham aham asvapsam. So, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, because Jagat is continuously changing. That's the first characteristic of Mithya. Second characteristic is, there must be somebody to cognize this changefulness, this world. I am continuously cognizant of the waking, of the dream, of the deep sleep. They are changing and they are contradicting each other. But I, the cognizer, is never changing. So they depend for their very existence. So this is the waking state. For that, they rely upon me. This is the dream state. For that, they have to rely upon me. This is the deep sleep state. For that, that state has to rely upon me. So these three states are not only continuously changing, they are completely dependent upon my cognition. This is waking, this is dream, and this is the deep sleep state. Just I want to remind you that throughout the deep sleep state, even 1 millisecond, I cannot be unaware of this deep sleep state. I am completely aware of this state all the time. So this is the answer. For that, Gaudapada wants to tell that just as when we are dreaming, we don't say it is a dream. When we are waking, in the waking state, we say that was a dream. Similarly, when we are in the dream state, we remember not so clearly, vaguely, but I thought I was in Hyderabad, but now I find here in Varanasi, like that. So this compare and contrast, analyze, one comes to know everything is changing, everything is dependent upon that pure consciousness for its very existence, that is called Maya. So this is called Vaitatya Prakarana, wants to prove that one. Then this one, which never changes, that pure consciousness, which we should call I, not this body-mind complex, that is the eternal, that is the blissful Brahman. Gaudapada wants to show us that we have forgotten temporarily because of the power of Maya, and how can we get out of the jala, the net of this Maya, and for that certain yogic practices are given. So, this is the Vaitatya Prakarana. Then, when the whole experiences of three states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, are negated, do you think everything disappears? No. There is something which is cognizing all these three, without which these three states are not possible. That is called Advaita. And that Advaita is also called Brahman. Advaita is also called Turiyam. And so he wants to prove in the third chapter this truth, that everything is Advaitam only. So I only put on a special dress, just like an actor. Suppose you analyze the life of any actor. So he will be at home, he will get a contract, then he will go to the place where filming is done, and there he puts a different type of dress suitable. He may be a king, he may be a servant, or he may be a demon, he may be a villain, he may be hero, or she may be heroine. All these roles appropriate, then appropriate dialogues, appropriate behavior. And every day, several hours of this filming is done. But just imagine, put yourself in the feet of that hero or heroine or villain, and what do we see? That there are two types of awarenesses. One is that I am Mr. So-and-so, Miss or Mrs. So-and-so, that is continuously there. Whether you are at home acting or not acting, both times, or when you are sleeping, that awareness, identity is never forgotten. But when we are acting, now I am doing the job of acting. So I must have a different name, different dress, different behavior, etc., etc. Very interesting, So supposing there is husband, and then wife, and then the brother of this husband. Suppose all the three are two actors, one actresses, and one is acting like Rama, another as Ravana, another as Sita. And they all come, they know who they are, but at the same time, they behave totally different, as if the greatness of any acting is that you should not feel they are acting. They should feel they are that character which they are trying to act. It happened in the case of Girish Chandra Ghosh. Once he wrote a drama of acting as a drunkard. He was beating his wife, black and blue. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was sitting in the audience, and he forgot it was a drama. So he took out his shoe and then threw it. Don't ask me what happened to the other shoe. Probably he presented it later on. So Girish Chandra Ghosh was so flattered that I got this wonderful shoe. Everybody respected Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, you see. So this is the what is called Advaita Prakarana. And then the fourth, as I mentioned, the longest, it has got 100 karikas. It is for two purposes: summarizing the whole of the Upanishad as well as his own commentary in the first, second and third chapters, and as well as very crystal clearly refuting the opposite schools, not only Sankhya or Vaiseshika, Nyaya. These are called Indian schools of philosophy: Yoga, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, and Purva Mimamsa. And the school of philosophy which Gaudapada was following is called Uttara Mimamsa, or what we now call Vedanta. plus Charvaka Mata, the materialistic view, plus also the four schools of Buddhism, as we have seen, Vaibhasika, Sautrantika, Yogachara, and Madhyamika. So this is how he had done it. These are the four chapters that have come. So again, to go back, the first chapter is called Agama. It consists of 12 mantras of the Mandukya Upanishad plus 29 karikas of Gaudapada. Of these two portions, the Upanishad is important and karika is only the explanation of Gaudapada. So, in this Upanishad also, the first and second slokas are very, very important. So, the first says Omkara. Everything is Omkara. And Omkara, Vichara. And then second thing is Atman. So, this Omkara is again divided into 4 syllables. Om, 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 A, O, plus Arthamatra, unsounding sound. See, second mantra is a Mahavakya is also there. So, Atman has been divided into 4 states. The Jagrat, the Swapna, Sushupti, waking, dream, dreamless. But the fourth one, for the sake of convenience, we call it state. But really it is not a state at all. It is that which is there throughout all the 3 states, without which the experience of those 3 states or the very existence of those 3 states is completely impossible. So this is what Gaudapada says. And then the rest of from the 3rd mantra to the 7th mantra is a definition of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. And 7th mantra, it gives us that you are not the waker, dreamer, sleeper, or in between states, neither an absence of anything nor the presence of anything, but you are Shiva Shantam, Shivam Advaitam. That word Advaita is completely covered in so this, you are not waking, you are not dreaming, you are not a sleeping state, that is covered in the Vaitadhya Prakarana. And you are Shantam Shivam Advaitam, that is covered in the 3rd chapter called Advaita Prakarana. And the 4th Prakarana is only an analysis of it. So, as we have been discussing so many other chapters, other Upanishads, the essence of everything is, what is it? That the entire world is nothing but pure mithya. What does it mean? And that is very beautifully summarized by Gaudapada in the 2nd chapter, 32nd verse, which is the summary. Na nirodho, na cha utpattihi, na baddho, na cha sadakaha, na mumukshurvai, muktaha, ityesha paramarthata. No jiva is born. There is what is called no origination of either jiva or the world, and therefore there is no need to negate, because when there is no creation itself, the destruction of creation or negation of creation or negation of Maya never arises. Therefore, na baddhaha, there is nobody who is bound. Therefore, na cha sadakaha, there is nobody who is a sadhaka, a spiritual aspirant. And therefore, there is no sadhana, there is no sadhaka, there is no bondage, and therefore, na mumukshuhu, nobody has ever become a realized soul. Because a realized means you are not a realized soul, you did something and you realized, and you are a bound soul, and there by some means you came out of the bondage or you destroyed your bondage. No, you were free, you are free, you will be free. Ityesha paramartha. This is the only truth. That is what, in other words, Brahma Satyam Jagan Vidya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. So, there is nothing much, but I feel it is very good if we can just chant the original 12 mantras. Om iti ekaksharam iti etad aksharam idam sarvam tasya upavyakyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyat iti sarvam onkara eva yacha anyat trikalatetam tadapi onkara eva. There is nothing excepting onkara, past, present and future. Sarvam hetat brahma, ayam atma brahma, soyam atma chatushpa. Everything is Brahma. And this, you are that Brahma. I am Atma, means this Brahman. I am means this. This means you, me, everybody. What you call I is nothing but Brahma. And this Atma, in this state of ignorance, has 4 states, Chatushpa. So, Jagarthistano, Bahishprajnaha, Saptangaha, Ekonavimshatimukhah, Stholabhuk, Vaishvanaraha, Pratamapada. First is called the waking state. Second, Swapnantaha, Antaprajnaha, Saptangaha, Ekonavimshatimukhah, Praviviktabhuk, Taijasaha, Vitiyapadaha. So when a person is experiencing so-called this dream state, that is the second state. And yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyate tat sushuptam sushupta sthana ekibhutaha prajnana ghanaha evam anandamayaha hi anandabhuk chetomukhaha prajnaha tritiya pada is called prajna. Prajna means completely ignorant because he doesn't even see any world also. So this is called the third stage or the deep sleep state. And the next mantra, this is the 6th mantra. And who is that experiencing all these 3 states? He is the Atma. Esha Sarveshwaraha, Sarvagnaha, Esha Antaryami, Esha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapyayau hi Bhutanam. He is the Lord of all. He is all-knowing. He is the indweller and he is the origin, and he sustains the so-called birth and continuation and death. Now comes mantra 8. This is the description in 2 parts. First, what I am not. Second, what I am. Nanta prajnam, na bahish prajnam, na ubhayata prajnam, na prajnana ganam, na prajnam, na aprajnam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, eka atma pratyasaram, prapancha upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vigneha. Atma is not either the waking dream or deep sleep states, but it is the so-called turiya state. And what is the nature? Shantam, peaceful, Shivam, auspicious, Advaitam, one without a second, and that is the nature of Atma, Savigneyaha, and that Atman has to be realized. And a little bit about how to realize from the 8th mantra. Soyam Atma, Adhyakshara, Onkara, Adimatram, Pada, Matra, Matrascha Pada, Akara, Ukaro, Makara iti. This Onkara has to be imagined as Akara, Ukara and Makara. And Jagarithistano, Vaishvanaro, Akara, Prathama, Matra, Apte Radimatvat, Va Apnodhya Vai Sarvan Kaman, Adhischa Bhavati Evam Veda. So, identify the A part of the Omkara with the waking state and make contemplation. Then, Swapnasthana Taijasa Ukaro Dvitiya Matra Utkarshat Ubhayatvat Uddhotkarshatiha Vaignana Santatim Samanasya Bhavati Nasya Brahmavitkule Bhavati Ye Evam Veda. So, the second letter of the Omkara, called Ukara, should be identified with the dream state and contemplate, and then merge that in Brahman or Omkara. So, if anybody succeeds in that family, really speaking, no non-knower of Brahman will be born. That means everybody that is born in that family will be only a knower of Brahman. But the family will not continue. Within a short time, the whole thing will come to an end. See, Sri Ramakrishna did not marry. So, he had no, what is called, continuation of his family members. But there are so many rishis, they continued. but they won't continue for a long time. It is seen. If somebody is a realized soul, then that family, that person's family, will not continue for a long time, because they also very soon realize Brahman and they will attain mukti, and that family will come to that lineage will come to an end. And then mantra 11th, that is the identity of Makara with the deep sleep state. Sushupta sthana prajna Makara tritiya matra miter apiterva minoti hava idagum sarvam apitischa bhavati yayevam veda. So he becomes completely merged in that highest reality, and that is temporarily, of course, that is called the deep sleep state. And one should equate the third matra, third letter of that Omkara, which is called Makara, with the deep sleep state. And this is how the person will be progressing in spiritual life. And in the concluding 12th mantra, Amatraha Chaturdaha Avyavaharyaha Prapanchopshamaha Shivaha Advaita Eva Omkaram Atma Eva Samvishati Atmana Atmanam Yayevam Veda. One who succeeds in this type of contemplation, what happens to him? That he transcends. So by contemplation of Akara and waking state, he transcends the one third of the Maya called waking state. And by contemplating Ukara and the dream state, if he succeeds, when he succeeds, he completely overcomes all the Maya, ignorance, and knows his partially true nature, and that is the result of this contemplation. And when the same person equating Makara with deep sleep succeeds in it, then he remains alone, which is called Amatraha Chaturdaha Avyavaharyaha Prapancha Upashamaha Shivaha Advaita. And for that, certain what is called practices are given, and that is the meaning of this one, actually speaking. Now, what I am going to do is read out the quotation from Swami Vivekananda, who summarized the whole thing, and that is the summary of this Mandukya Upanishad too. This is what Swami Vivekananda says. You are infinite. God is true. The universe is a dream. Blessed am I that I know this moment that I shall be free all eternity. That I know that I am worshipping only myself. That no nature, no delusion had any hold on me ever. Vanish nature from me. Vanish gods. Vanish worship. Vanish superstition. For I know myself. I am the infinite. All these, Mr., Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, responsibility, happiness, misery have vanished. I am the infinite. How can there be death for me or birth? Whom shall I fear? I am the only one. Shall I be afraid of myself? Who is to be afraid of whom? I am the one existence. Nothing else exists. I am everything. But lest we may misunderstand Swamiji's words, he says, you are infinite. Where can you go? The sun, the moon, and the whole universe are but drops in your transient nature. How can you be born or die? I never was born, never will be born. I never had father or mother, friends or foes, for I am existence, knowledge, bliss absolute, and so you. Perfection is always infinite. We are this infinite already, and we are trying to manifest that infinity. You and I and all beings are trying to manifest it. You are the omniscient, omnipresent being of the universe. But of such things, can there be many? Can there be 100,000 million omnipresent beings? Certainly not. Then what becomes of us all? You are only one. There is only one such self, and that one self is you. Like fire in a piece of flint, knowledge exists in the mind. Suggestion is the friction which brings it out. So with our feelings and actions, our tears and smiles, our joys and our griefs, our weeping and our laughter, our curses and our blessings, our praises and our blames, every one of these we may find if we calmly study our own selves to have been brought out from within ourselves by so many blows as it. The result is what we are now. All these blows taken together are called karma, work, action. He who says he is the body is a born idolater. We are spirit, spirit that has no form or shape, spirit that is infinite and not matter. The whole universe is, there is only one self in the universe, only one existence. And that one existence, when it passes through the forms of time, space, and causation, is called by different names. Buddhi, fine matter, gross matter, all mental and physical form. Everything in this universe is that one, appearing in various forms. When a little part of it comes, as it were, into this network of time, space, and causation, it takes forms. Take off the network, and it is all one. Therefore, in the Advaita philosophy, the whole universe is all one in the self, which is called Brahman. That self, when it appears behind the universe, is called God. The same self, when it appears behind this little universe, the body, is the soul. This very soul, therefore, is the self in man. What you really are is existence, knowledge, and bliss. You are the God of this universe. You are creating the whole universe and again drawing it in, projecting and drawing it in. Finally, Swamiji concludes, all that is real in me is he. All that is real in him is I. The gulf between God and man is thus bridged. Thus we find how, by knowing God, we find the kingdom of heaven within us. And so we conclude the Mandukya Upanishad, but we always conclude with the Shantipatha. So why Shantipatha now? At the beginning, Shantipatha is meant as a prayer, earnest prayer to God, so that he can remove all obstacles, so that he can endow both the teacher and myself the capacity to teach well and to convey it properly to the Guru, and healthy body, healthy mind, deeper capacity of understanding should be the lot of the student, which God alone, Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. That is the purpose of the Shantipatha. But at the end, it is thanksgiving. That is how we have to understand. O Lord, you heard my prayers. I received the knowledge. I understood it. And in a way of speaking, indirectly, I am a realized soul. I am convinced I am Brahman, but a little bit of sadhana is necessary through manana nididhyasana. Shravana I have done. Manana nididhyasana I have to do. So this last, we are chanting the Shanti mantra so that we can, what we call, convey our thanks. Om Bhadram Kannebhi Shrunayama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Akshavarya Jatraha Sthirairangai Tustvagum Sastanuvihi Yashema Devahita Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastina Starksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Brihaspati Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. O gods, may we always hear with our ears what is auspicious. Now, in this case, thanksgiving, that even after realization, if we are still alive, both teacher as well as ourselves, but so long as we live, let us not forget our gratefulness. Let us worship our Guru, our gods, and Ishvara, of course, and let us hear from our students, because if I have become enlightened, I have to convey what I have learned from my Guru. I am like a trustee, and what has been given to me is like a trust. What my Guru handed over to me, from what he received from his Guru, and his Guru from his Guru, etc., from the very beginning, and that trust I must hand over to worthy disciples. So may we always hear what is auspicious and from the mouths of my disciples. So also, O worshipful ones, may we, with our eyes, always see what is auspicious. May we live our allotted life hale and hearty, offering our worship unto Thee, And may Indra of ancient fame always bestow auspiciousness on all of us. May the all-nourishing Pushan be always propitious to all of us. May Garuda, the destroyer of all evil, be well disposed always towards all of us. May Brihaspati ensure all our welfare all the time. So, Loka Samastaha Sukhano Bhavantu. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto you. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Saritva Pranamami Murmuhu. May Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda bless us all with bhakti. Jai Ram.